If you want to learn a language, one of the things you have to realize is that most people don't accomplish their language learning goals. So I think it's pretty safe to say that the methods they're using are questionable, to say the least. And one of the things most people tend to do wrong is that they ask way too many questions. Now you might be thinking, but asking questions is a good thing, right? I want to understand. And while that's generally true, in language learning, you tend to benefit from a more brain-dead approach, where the less you think, the more results you actually get. And to prove my point, all we have to do is to look at the most popular ways to learn, since we know most people don't really get the best results. The most popular routes to go down are all very thinking, explanation and solution focused. Whether someone decides to self-study or learn in a classroom setting, this is generally the way that you're going to be learning a new language. Language teachers are usually focused on what the student is doing wrong. Then they try to explain it to them and hope that they understand and stop doing it. And the same thing in apps and textbooks. Here's the difference between this word and that word. Now just go out and magically use it correctly in a conversation. But that's not really how language works. And when you look at the most popular YouTube channels or social media profiles for learning different languages, they're usually the ones with videos along the lines of 10 basic words in Spanish that you have to learn, or the difference between this word and that word in Japanese. This kind of learning really appeals to the masses, because it feels like you're making progress, when in reality you haven't really learned much at all. And the reason for this is because language isn't something you can acquire by just thinking about it consciously. It is on a fundamental level a very deeply subconscious process that has to be acquired in that same way. Trying to become fluent in a language via just thinking about it is like trying to go pro in basketball without ever getting out onto the court. Now, will you be better than someone who's never learned any theoretical knowledge around the game? Sure, but you'll never actually get good at the sport without playing it in real life. And so the issue here is that although these things can and do have a benefit, they're largely a waste of time. But people still keep doing them. And that's because of their any benefit mindset. Surely if an activity has something to gain from it, then we should do it, right? Well, there's a very popular concept within the field of economics called opportunity cost, which I think perfectly applies here. And all it basically boils down to is picking one option over another. 10 years ago, would it be a good option to invest into Apple? Sure, but it would have been even better if you invested into Bitcoin. And it's sort of the same idea here. Is there some benefit from spending an hour trying to understand the exact meaning of a certain word? Of course. But what is that benefit really in comparison to spending an hour learning the language via watching a video or studying vocabulary that's actually useful? And that's sort of the frame of mind that you have to come at your learning with. What is the benefit I'm going to get from this versus that? And that's what people usually forget when they're learning languages. So try to realize that your mind will always be trying to have you avoid doing the hard and uncomfortable things, even if they're the things that are going to get you the best results in the long run. No amount of watching tips to learn Japanese videos will ever actually replace the benefit that you will get from getting some real hands-on practice with the language while watching a real video in the language or speaking to someone in it. So instead of getting sucked down the rabbit hole of paralysis by analysis videos, trying to come at language learning like you're a math professor learning every single piece of theoretical knowledge that there is, try to come at it from a more laid-back approach, where all you try to do is to understand the language, learning some theoretical knowledge, but not obsessing over it. So instead of watching videos where someone is carefully explaining every single piece of the grammar, try to just watch a video of someone speaking the language and try to understand what they're saying instead of why they're saying it, because that's ultimately how you're going to get good at the language in the end. This approach has you actually learning and acquiring the language in a way that's going to make it stick in your head, making you able to easily use it when the time actually comes. And exactly how you do that in the best way possible is what I'm going to teach you in the video on the screen right now. So if you want to learn how to learn in the most effective way possible, without wasting time on any pointless activities, then click on the screen and I'll see you guys there.